Hello, my name is Logan Reed, and the API that I've chosen to present to you today is the WebSpeech API. Um, this API actually uses another API as a backend. It uses the Google Speech API. Um, but with this API, it just makes the Google Speech API more accessible, easier to use, and really with two simple commands, we can have your computer talk to you, whatever you would want it to say. So, as you can see here on this is the Mozilla Developer Network site, and uh, this API has two parts. It has speech recognition and then speech synthesis. And the portion that I'm going to demonstrate for you today is the speech synthesis. Um, this is kind of the basic app that they give you. It's an example. And really, in my mind, the example that they give you is overly complicated, where they have a whole page, a whole script that takes up a whole page just to be able to have your computer talk to you, but it is much, much simpler than that. Um, you can see what they do is they set the rate and the pitch, and you can set different grammars, you can set languages, but for just basic use, just here and there, you really only need two commands. You don't have to worry about everything else is just set to default. And you can see here on this website they show you they use 4 lines of code, but if you can incorporate this into your first command here and set that in a variable, and then simply use the speech synthesis dot speak command, which you can see I've done in my code here. Um, we have the speech synthesis utterance here, where we create a new example, and then we have the speech command here, which will, depending on which one is true here, the computer will speak that. Um, you can see here all the code that they've thrown into it. Populating voices. That includes setting your grammar, the language, the data name, um, which just really, in my mind, overcomplicates things if you're just using it for just more basic things. So now I will show you that where the app is that I developed. Here it is, and it's just a simple quizzing app, which, given more time, we could build it into a more developed app. As you can see, all the questions and options and answers are hard coded into the program. But given more time and a better work environment, we could take this and we could pull our questions and options and answers from, say, an SQL database, which would be a lot better to do. It'd be a lot more, the code would be a lot more reusable, a lot easier to read, and we just have a more usable program. But as you can see, we're going to answer a question here, and the computer will tell us whether we are right or wrong.
I'm sorry, your answer is wrong.
I'm not sure if you could hear that or not, because my program only records off the microphone and does not record the computer volume. So, but it did tell us that we answered incorrect. We can move on to the second question,
Congratulations, you are correct.
and we have answered that question correct. Now, if we don't select any, it'll tell us that, and it won't move
You
on.
have not selected an answer. Please try again.
So it'll make sure that we do at least select one answer before we can move on. And so we're going to go ahead and
I'm
finish.
sorry, your answer is wrong. You are finished with your test. You scored 100% on your test.
So we can see as you go through the test, it'll tell you whether you're right or wrong. It'll make sure you answer the question, and at the end of the test, it'll finish and it won't let you go on clicking the button or anything. And it'll tell you that you're finished, and it'll also calculate your score and tell you your score, which is really a simple thing. We can see, as I showed you before, we have all of our questions, options, and answers. As the program begins, we're going to populate all these radio buttons in here, as well as populate the right question into the right area. After that, we're going to wait for the button click. On the button click, we're going to retrieve which radio button is selected. If this radio button there are no radio buttons selected, this variable will be undefined. So we want to make sure that it is not undefined. So we move on and we can compare the value from the radio button to the actual answer. And if they are the same, congratulations, you are correct. And we will increment this variable correct answers to make sure that at the end we can give you your score. Otherwise, we're going to tell you that you're wrong. We're going to increment the question count here. Then we're going to empty the area where the radio buttons are held. And this will remove all information within. This is actually a div. So we're going to remove all that, and then we're going to tell you what happened up here. After that, we're going to check to make sure that we're not at the end of our questions. If we only have 5 questions so far, so if we reach the counter reaches 5, then we're done with our questions, and we don't want to populate more questions and radio buttons. So we're going to make sure if we're less than 5, we're going to populate. Otherwise, we know the test is over. We're going to let you know, and we're going to calculate your score simply by getting the correct answers divided by the number of answers times 100. Then we want to round that off, because if we don't round that off, we could come out to a repeating decimal that goes on forever, which could really mess with the speech synthesizer. And so once we're done with that, it'll tell you, and we also want to remove the button and change the question area to let you know you're finished, and so that you can't mess more things up. But also here at the end, this is the else to the very beginning. At the top, when it checks whether the answer is undefined, and we can see that if it is undefined, we're going to let you know that you haven't selected an answer and to try it again. And because of this, we don't want to change anything. We just want everything to stay the same. Instead of populating more radio buttons or new questions, we just want the user to answer the question. So that's all we're really doing right in here. And so you can see, when it comes down to it, it takes 2 commands to make your computer speak. Very simple, very easy. It is an incredibly simple API, which is very easy to use. For more information, you can Google this. You can come to, for more advanced options, especially come to the Mozilla Developer Network page. And they really put out a lot of information, which can be complicated for a beginning user to this API, but is also gives you those examples. So once you reach that level of proficiency with the API, you can do even more cool things with it. You can change the voice. It's a very accessible to different languages and such. Of course, I haven't tried the other languages, but I'm sure there are limitations when it comes to some other languages and how they're able to be translated. But all in all, you got a nice little package that is very, very easy to use. Um, just to give you a little bit of voice, gives you um, a little bit more wow factor to your application. And down the road, when the API is still needing some work, especially on the voice to text, which really has a hard time at understanding what you say, which is why I decided not to include it in this video. But down the road, once it's developed more, you could use it for security reasons, making a user answer a question, so that you get speech from them instead of just something that a bot could synthesize. It'd be very hard for a bot to create an account if it needed to speak a certain phrase that's put on the screen and a picture. Say you see the confirmation of typing it in, but we could also do a speech, which would add another layer of security. You could do all kinds of interesting things with this API. Um, I believe that is all for me. Hope you have fun playing with the API. Thank you for your time.